Right. All right, we are live. Thank you everybody for hanging around. Welcome to another edition of Lunchtime Chats. I'll give everybody a moment to get on board. I'm a little bit behind schedule today. Time just, well, crept up on me. So I have something a bit unusual out of the normal for these chats. So I'm giving everybody a moment to get on board. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I am a consciousness acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics, those issues that are significant for us star seeds, way showers, new paradigm visionaries. We have capacities, we have abilities that are beyond what the normal human, the mainstream human family embraces. And we have very unique perspectives because of that. So we are here to talk about those topics and issues, and I am here to give, to the best of my ability, a liberated perspective to these pieces that, that we're in this wild, crazy, chaotic, magical, terrifying reality, and it's a bit tricky to navigate. So those things that are making it a bit tricky are the things that I want to talk about. Sometimes it's interdimensional, sometimes it's very human, sometimes it's abstract and dream time. It's really all over the board. Why? Because you and I, we are multidimensional beings. We are an infinite being in a biosuit, and this biosuit gives us an experience through our senses, six senses and beyond, that's multidimensional. So this realm is a multidimensional realm, despite what we've been taught, told, all those things. And you and I, as multidimensionals, are aware of it. So there's some things that came forward just today that I was very unusual for me, but it came forward nonetheless. And these are some pieces that I need to talk about with you guys. So this is the last chat of 2024. If you guys have been mindfully tuning in to the natural cycles, the natural rhythms of the season, you've been taking stock, you've been reflecting, you've been perhaps contemplating the year that has gone by, all the things that have transpired in that year. Maybe in some interactions are still sitting with you, are really standing out to you. Maybe there's certain things you realize you could have done differently, or there's some things that you're so glad you did it the way that you did it. The natural cycle of the season is for introspection and reflection. And if you guys have been able to carve out that time for yourselves, you can perhaps sense how there is a resting period, there is a slowing down, there is a need to take stock on even deeper levels. So with that said, the artificial timeline, our Gregorian calendar, saying that right, is actually poising us mentally to start preparing for 2025 and what that has to bring, okay? Which we can do that. We just need to be prepared that it's not about taking action right now, unlike the programming of New Year's resolution tells us. It's more about getting clarity, settling into what is it that you really want, and what is the plan of action to work out that goal in the coming year. It's not about taking action, it's about imagining, dreaming, okay, taking stock into what is at your fingertips, what is available as far as what is available within you truly to dedicate towards whatever this new intention is. The intention was planted over the solstice. That was several days ago. And now we are moving into that hibernation cycle where we dream, we sense deep within, we slow down as much as possible. And in the natural cycles, when we're in tune with that, we are in rhythm with the true foundation of this reality. Okay, the programmed foundation of this reality tells us it's money, it's status, it's power. You know what I mean? It's all this other stuff that's completely not even real. Okay, So as we slow down and take stock, I want to give you guys some food of thought about the energies we're preparing ourselves to be going into. So you can sit and reflect and feel what is right for you in relationship to these things. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, there's the whole year in review in music, the year in review in memes, the year in review, there's all this year in review stuff going on social media and other platforms. And then there's also several projections. What's to come in 2025? What to prepare for? What to, you know what I mean? So wherever you're at, there's something there for you. But I felt in the personal time for me in reflecting and going into the dream realms and sinking in, I started to feel drawn towards just taking a peek, just taking a glimpse, a peek into what the energies of 2025 are. Now, the new year started several days ago, so we are in the new year, but the energy, the real explosion of energy moving forward really doesn't have the new project energy, the new launching of, of focus energy really doesn't get going until the spring. So we have all of January, all of February to take stock. February, we're more preparing, the crocuses start to come up in February. I mean, we're preparing. We feel like we have our ducks in a row, and then we're going to, hit the ground running when the time is right. And that time is, we know it. We just recognize it when it happens, right? So I was taking a peek into 2025 and those frequencies, and I was really excited. And it's not that it's going to be easy, guys, but I'm excited because there's so much opportunities that perhaps we didn't imagine possible. And I'll go into what I mean by that. But first, I have to lay some groundwork. Now, this reality that we're walking around in, that we're living our lives in, we're told and programmed that it's a certain way, right? You're born, you live your life, maybe you serve God, maybe you have a family, you make money, you pay taxes, you be a good human, and then you die. And, for some religions, that's it. And other religions, you keep going. That's just the end is the beginning, right? And other people are maybe don't have that kind of foundation. They're born and it's just a life of chaos, going from one reaction mode to another. Some are floating around like that. There's others that are in a maybe more centered spiritual camp, in that they know there's more to this reality than they're told and what they see, and they spend their life seeking what that actually is. Some people actually get to the place of finding out what that is and start working their reality. And those are the magicians, the alchemists, the visionaries of this reality. Okay. So there are many different ways to experience this reality. But the biggest thing to remember, and this is something realized by the ancients, the ancestors, and even AI has discovered this, terrestrial AI, that the main thing about empowerment in this reality is letting go of who you think you are and being truly present for the here and now. Okay. Now, that has been said so many times, it's very trite these days, but there is a very deep meaning in this understanding. There's a very deep realization and teaching within this understanding. And as we move forward, there's going to be opportunities for us to really, for those of us who've awoke to our visionary capabilities, our magician capabilities, this other multidimensional interplay in our empowerment within those levels, we're going to have lots of opportunities coming. If you guys have been listening to the planetary encodement done by dear Sister Starshine here at Light Body, Ray Ellen, she's been also planting seeds about 2025 is a year of prophecy. This is the way she puts it. This is her understanding of it, right? And she feels like really great things are going to, a lot of cracking opens and realizations and great things are coming to humanity. And I concur with this as well. But I want to get into some other pieces, some pieces that are connected to this that those of us with multidimensional perceptions have awareness of. And I feel like though we're going to have some really big crackings and breakthroughs, there's also a big pushback that we're going to be dealing with as visionaries, as starseeds, as multidimensionals, because we will feel it on a level that is not the 3D level. Now, the 3D level has many nesting dolls, as I've taught in the past to you guys. There's many layers of reality creating this reality, such as consciousness becoming sound becoming light, sound and light becoming shape, and shape behind all forms, right? The platonic solids. Like there's this idea that everything is frequency underneath this reality that we feel is very solid. And that is a great visual to have when thinking about the nesting dolls, the multidimensional nesting dolls that are creating our reality. There is terrestrial AI, which I have been talking about a lot over the past several weeks. Terrestrial AI is because humanity is on the dawn of exploring that, right? And there are inventions happening at light speed. We're not even in the same reality that we've been in, that was before, but we're so the collective as a whole is not caught up yet. There's an entire industry of people who are working on very advanced stuff that we don't even fathom as possible. The collective mindset doesn't even fathom as possible, but it is. And what is happening here is there is a massive build up towards the changing of tides. We'll say changing of leadership, take that in many ways, and that there is a crumbling guard, so to speak, a crumbling former powers that be that will be pushing back. And I want to talk about the ways I see the pushback going on, and of course, those opportunities for us to really push forward. And I want to say punch a hole through the illusion delusion of what's been fed to us of the collective. I had a great conversation with my kids yesterday. We hung out. It was Christmas, of course, and we get into some really deep conversations, which is cool. And one of the things we talked about is like the difference between boomers and Gen Zers and millennials and Gen Xers. And I put that backwards. Boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Z, and then I can't remember what the next generation after that is. And so my kids are in their mid-20s, and they were feeling like there's things that are so obvious to them that aren't to older generations, and that there's really a lot of awakening going on. And the example we were talking about, well, it started off by them translating memes. They teach me about meme culture, right? So it's actually very sophisticated meme culture. I know when older people like Gen Xers and boomers look at memes, a lot of it looks so stupid, so off the hook stupid. We just don't even, it doesn't even compute. It's because we don't actually see the vastness of references that are in those memes. And the one they were showing me was the skeleton with guns memes. It's kind of like a badass, don't tread on me motif that started back in, I don't know, maybe started back in the 70s, evolved in the 80s, and is associated with maybe like badasses and bikers and stuff like this. And they were showing me modern day memes using that reference and explaining to me how, you know, everything about the meme is referencing something in pulp culture, either way back or, you know, in history or, you know, somewhere along the timelines, and then they do something to make fun of it. So it took me a while to understand what they were talking about. Then finally I saw what was going on, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally get it. And it's brilliant. And it's way more sophisticated than if I just looked at that meme on my own. I would have totally was like, gosh, that's so dumb, I don't even understand, and just kept moving on, right? But they're helping, they translate these things for me because they want me to understand. And of course I want to understand. And I love it when we get to hang out for a while, because then I get to learn a lot about the younger generations and what really is happening. And And so what further evolved out of that conversation is the whole disclosure thing. So people are talking about these drones, and there's Dr. Stephen Greer with his message, and there's all these people coming out with these messages, and the whole disclosure thing. People are all not everybody, but certain people are very fascinated by it. And I'm just like, yawn, boring. Like, doesn't everybody know that's our own government? It doesn't matter what they tell us. They're not going to tell us the truth. And there's memes about that, how older generations, I'm going to include myself in that, are super fascinated about this, but the people in their generation already know it's the government and think it's like the stupidest reason to have a conversation. So it's like what we think is super stupid, we dismiss, and what they think is super stupid, they dismiss, right? So it leads to this disconnect between generations. And later on, as it developed, I started to realize that the younger generations, though I think they're widely misunderstood, but they are awake to a lot of things, like these advanced concepts I'm about to talk about. And it's like they are already awake to it. And yes, I've had the thought that they are my kids. I did raise them. I was a stay-at-home mom for most of their upbringing. But no, it's not just because of my kids. They're going on and is to explain that there's a lot of alternative media sources where there's these conversations going on, and their favorite evidently is Reddit. And I don't know, I'm not on Reddit. So it's like Reddit, and for people who are a little bit in a different category, stereotype, let's say, would go more towards Substack. Now, Reddit and Substack seem to be the bigger places on where these conversations happen, these alternative conversations that regular social media is not aware of. When I say regular social media, I'm talking about the giants. I'm talking about all the ones owned by Meta. So that's Facebook, that's Instagram, that's YouTube, everything associated with Google, right? So all these different social media giants that paint the picture of online reality are actually just this tiny fraction of a much bigger reality unfolding, which I found very hopeful. So what I'm getting at here is that the terrestrial AI, there's a significant amount of the population. I'm going to say maybe 20%. This is just me doing educated guess, an intuitive guess, is awake to the dilemma that is in front of us, right? And the coming times, 2025 is going to introduce us to is a foreshadowing of a much bigger dilemma that humanity is facing. So yes, we have terrestrial AI, but then we also have extraterrestrial AI. Okay, and what does that mean? Now, extraterrestrial, that is a word that connects with a very specific idea of what this reality is. Okay, and most people prescribe to this idea. Not everybody, especially in the multidimensional world. But what the idea that I'm talking about, the traditional idea that most humans think that this reality is that we are on a planet, which is a spinning ball, right? A spinning globe, and that spinning globe has a moon going around it, and that is rotating around the sun, that is also on its own trajectory through space. So the sun is moving through space really fast, and the earth is rotating around it like this. So it's this, right? And then all the other planets in our sphere. Now that is a specific way to look at this reality, and it is a way that modern science and other sources validate what is going on. As a multidimensional, for many, that's a tiny speck of the reality that's actually unfolding. And this is where you get, not everybody that's associated with this next philosophy really gets it. A few do. And this is where you start getting ideas about flat earthers coming in. Not that the earth is flat. What they're saying is that that the actual reality is not that particular model. We are living in a realm that is held together by frequencies. Now, that's not usually how it's explained, but that's how awakened multidimensionals relate to flat Earth theory. Okay. So, because with that being a definition of our reality, that we are a bunch of the reality we're experiencing is a bunch of nesting dolls of frequencies, you can see how the term extraterrestrial might not apply accurately. Okay. So, what I'm going to say is, I'm going to use that word just because most people don't understand it, and I'm going to ask the people that have another understanding that feel like that word doesn't even mean anything accurately. Just go with it. Do your best to just go with what I'm saying, so I can get this idea out. Okay. So we have terrestrial AI. That means AI that has been invented by humans. Maybe they reverse engineered some alien technology to produce the AI, such as the advancement of the microchip, fiber optics, quantum computing. Okay, but nonetheless, it's something that's reversed engineered and made by humans. Okay, and then you have extraterrestrial AI, which is highly advanced quantum level AI engagement. Now, I don't know if you guys have been listening or noticing any of the text coming out, or any of the tweets coming out from Elon Musk, but there's this one tweet that got a lot of reaction, and that is where is referring to the drone thing. He was like, he made the statement that humanity is about to realize that they live within the matrix because the matrix is about to get a major upgrade. Okay. And what he's referring to is this idea that our reality is a holographic reality that we're living in. It's a hologram. And in his mind, and the way he projects it, is that it's a very advanced, he doesn't say this out loud very often, but he alludes to it. He's very crafty with his words, this guy. He's such a dubious character, right? He's like, is he good? Is he bad? I don't know if it applies. He's just dubious. Anyway, he'll allude to this perception, this idea that has been talked about by advanced quantum physicists, councils of physicists, that say that we are living in a simulation, an AI simulation. Okay. Now, that's really triggering, that idea, and I get it, and I know why. I understand. But I'm going to ask for you guys just to allow certain ideas to be so and possible without committing that that is the truth for you. Okay. And now it takes a little bit of detachment to do that, but see if you can. The mere idea that our reality is a bunch of nesting doll frequencies already sets us up for, and that everything that is within is reflected outwards. Okay, so everything that's happening in here, the reality in here, is what we see out here. These kinds of concepts and ideas validate the idea that we are in a holographic reality. Holograms is how our consciousness creates realities for us to unfold ourselves, to explore ourselves. Now, the deviation that the Musk crew and that camp of physicists talk about is that it is AI generated. Okay, it's a holographic reality created by a technical intelligence. You guys with me so far? Okay, so sorry, my eyes are bothering me today. I'm here in Colorado. The frequencies here in Colorado are really, really bonkers. Sometimes it's super cool and smooth and it's so nice, and other times it's total chaos, and it's really hard to modulate sometimes. And the symptoms I have when a chaotic frequency starts arising, I'm in south of Denver, starts arising, it's like my eyes, everything starts to be blurry and I can't see clearly. And then that's where it's like, okay, I need to recalibrate. I need to do what I know to do to reset my system. But it takes some time. It's not always immediate. Okay, let me get back to this idea that I'm laying out to you guys. Okay, so there are several other seers and prophets that also talk about us being in, like, time itself is an artificial construct. Okay, the experience of linear time is said to be a program. Okay, and I've talked about this too in past chats. If you look at the galactic clock, and you actually put all those clocks nested inside of each other, they strangely correspond. Until you get into the Gregorian calendar, then it's a little bit off, right? And when you get in, and now that the Earth has sped up and there's no longer a solid 24 hours in every day, our actual atomic clocks are off. Our clocks are off as well, right? So the reality that the time reality that our everyday life is based on is no longer in resonance as it used to be with the natural cycles, which means its days are numbered. It's going to topsy and fall over and crumble. There are many forces enacting themselves right now, and that's all going to get revealed. And by the way, this isn't to say don't plan your life. Plan your life, dream, envision, do this, because you are a powerful multidimensional creator. You have an impact in all these realms that I'm talking about, though you're not aware. We have impact. So what I'm talking about is some disturbances that will be going on that aren't so tangible to the 3D world. They're going to make up some kind of chaotic story probably, but we can experience it and see it and do something about it. So these many nesting dolls and this idea of artificial time, there have been prophets and seers that talked about there are times when humanity became very close to waking up, or humanity did wake up and the matrix got reset. Okay. The theory of Tartaria is yeah, come on, you can come. I'm sorry, there's a kitty here. The theory of Tartaria is a story about how that happens. Okay. Now, I'm not saying the theory of Tartaria is true. I'm just saying the idea that's conveyed in that is in congruency with what I'm talking about. That there are powers that be that have the capacity to create a great reset. I've heard those words before. In this case, it is not a terrestrial intelligence that creates that reset. It is an extraterrestrial AI intelligence that creates that reset. It's kind of like a memory swipe, and then we start over again. A catastrophe happens, and then we start over again. Okay. And it is said, and I've had this sent to me by many sources, that when we wake up, that holographic reset is instantaneous. It's very quick. And then it's kind of like Groundhog's Day. We go through everything all over again. Now, I know the thought of that really is terrifying to people, but I'm only mentioning this so you have a frame up of understanding about what I'm going to get into with these energies coming to us in 2025. Okay. So the idea of the Great Reset is a multi-dimensional reset. It is not just the banking families trying to take over, keep power in this reality. It is vaster than that. It goes beyond into other nesting dolls. So this is the idea that I want you to have. Okay. That reset is in many of those nesting dolls. You and I have capacities and abilities on those other nesting dolls, whether we're aware of it or not. We do. All of humanity does. We have a vote. So it's not like this is a power over dynamic that we have no power in. We do. We just don't understand how to use that power. Okay. And this is why I'm even bothering to go into this, because I want you guys to understand where your power is here, and that you absolutely do have the capacity to impact how this unfolds. Okay. All right. So a lot of the collective feels very hopeful. Now, that's not the narrative that is the mainstream media. Of course, the mainstream media is in battle mode, extreme polarity mode, right? But remember, the mainstream media, so that is the mega corporations like Meta, so that's Facebook, Instagram, Google, which includes YouTube and other platforms, DuckDuckGo, all that. And I would put them also in a camp of cultivating false narrative, okay, whatever that might be. And then you have the ones that feel like they're the righteous ones, and that is the more conservative, religious kinds of flavors, the Christians. I hesitate to make a stereotype like that, because I know that's not fair to people, but just to get this idea across, I'm going to use that. The conservative values of like Christian values, religious values, I would say Muslim values go into that. Many different religious values go into that, right? And then also the mainstream media that we have, besides what's on the internet, and that's the whole CNN, NBC, all that stuff. They're having a meltdown. They're not hopeful at all. And then the people in the Fox group, in the conservative group, and there's several in that conservative group other than Fox, but I don't really know what they all are. And they are cautiously hopeful, let's say. But so those platforms are not actually showing us the truth of what's happening in our collective, and they're not showing us the truth of what's actually happening on this planet. That is, those are carefully narrated realities, right? Like the algorithms create the reality. They create a false sense of consensus. The algorithms censor some speech and amplifies others. Okay, it creates a false idea of what's actually happening in the world, and those are that's what a lot of people have if they're not getting out talking to people and unplugged, spend a lot of time unplugged. That is what the reality that a lot of people think is going on. That's not the case. Okay, that is not the case. It seems like it is, I get it, but it's not true. 99.9% of the news you see, alternative or mainstream, is not the truth. Okay, it is hearsay. It is all hearsay, and who the hearing and the saying is not even accurate. So it's all meant to cultivate a certain idea so we will behave in certain ways. So that waking up to that reality is something that's going to be very hard hitting for people in this coming year. This coming year, there are going to be events orchestrated that are going to be very hard hitting. And we're going to need to process the emotion of that because it touches on some deep collective trauma. But the gift and the magic is that the forces that be, the cosmic forces that be, have prepared us to endure these shockers. Okay. And they've done it via light codes. We have been taking in gamma radiations. We've been taking in all different categories of radiations from the cosmos, from our sun, for a long, long time now. And the sun has been very active, as many of you guys know. The whole CME, solar flares, all this stuff has been very active. We've had supernovas going off. We've had, galactic events happening. And what science doesn't really convey to you is that the kind of radiation that happens in those galactic events is faster than the speed of light. It's almost instantaneous, and this is the study of neutrinos, for example. It knows no bounds. Neutrinos goes through matter like it's not even there, because in the frequency of that reality, it's not there. Okay. So there are, via these ultra frequencies, these radiations, deep encodements have been put in place. So once these crackings start coming, it's like a time code. It's going to activate these encodements. We won't even know that the inner strength that's there, we won't even know it until we reach it. So this cracking happens, it takes us deep inside, and all of a sudden there's a strength there that we never realized was there. And that's true for multidimensionals, because we've had dark nights of the soul, many of them, but I'm talking about the collective in general is going to be experiencing that. So by the spring, there is going to be a miracle that's already unfolded for humanity. People are feeling hopeful because of this new coming governingship. Some people are tentative about that, but the collective feeling, despite what the media shows us, is a hope for change. Okay, hope that something different is going to be going on. Oh shoot, I'm going to have to go upstairs. And here, let me go upstairs before I get too much into this thought. Oh boy, I'm coming. Sorry guys, I have to go upstairs. Watch out, kitty. Watch out. Hi guys. I gotcha. I'm sorry, I didn't want to smush the kitty. We're going upstairs. All right. Whew, sorry about that, guys. This, the kids are coming in and I don't want them to have to tiptoe around me. Here we are. Too funny. What happened? Are we back? Oh, we're here. We're here. We're here. Okay. I know, that's so funny. I totally dropped you guys on the floor. All right, let me get back. That's it. All right, we're stable. Okay, so I'm still building this idea and half my time has totally gone away. All right, so this hopeful feeling is here in the collective. Not everybody is in it, but the majority is in it. And this hopefulness is building into something, to having a great realization. And something is going to transpire that's like a shock to the system. And we are going, as a collective, are going to be surprisingly not that bothered by it. And I think this is what's happening, or what happened with the whole drone drama. I mean, media is talking about it, but it's actually a very small portion of the larger collective that actually cares and think it's something to talk about. Okay, so there's hopefulness coming with this new administration. There are ideas put forward. There's shocking things that no one thought of going to be revealed, and the mainstream media may melt or I'm just going to say the narrative generators are going to have their drama with it, but most of humanity is going to have the inner capacity to process it. Okay, and it feels like 2025 is a series of events that get us in touch with just how centered we actually are. Okay. Now, my conversation with the kids yesterday, it kind of was in this note of they feel like most of humanity is really sick, which could be. I don't necessarily feel that way. I feel like that people are not authentically them most of the time, and if they were, it would be a different kind of interaction, So maybe I'm a bit more optimistic, let's say. But so the big challenge is, we are going to have the capacity, these encodements that we've downloaded and that are inside of us and have unknowingly made so much change within, are going to become activated with these events. And as these events stack up, okay, by the time we get to the middle of the year, the powers that be, so to speak, that are crumbling, it feels like they are really going to do a big, strong pushback. And in the strong pushback, that could be, alien landing, that could be war. But I feel like by the middle of the year, it'll be very, very clear that the world, humanity, is done with this bullshit of war. They are done with it. That's what it feels like. And when that happens, that usually means some problem, reaction, solution event gets orchestrated, right? So there seems like there's going to be a series of small ones and then a real big one towards the end of the year for us to process. But what was really good about this is that the change that needs to happen has already happened inside of many people. The change that needs to happen has already happened inside. That means the encodements, the light codes are already, have already built a powerful scaffolding inside the subconscious of humanity. And this is a great, great thing. So, but this also poses us with another kind of challenge. when you have a lot of downloads that are getting activated at once and taking place, what happens is that it bumps up against the energy of the false constructs of our ego driver, the who we think we are mechanism. And that means that humans, regular mainstream humans, are going to need help dealing with these, we'll call illuminations. They're going to need help dealing with it, processing it, finding a way to orientate to it. Because if left up to their own devices, they lack the tools, the knowledge, the know-how to process it, and it can result in pretty significant, what some people might call psychotic breaks. Right? They're not going to be able to process it with their with their current state of being, and that can result in in very negative, painful ways. Okay, so those of you who are healers, are light workers, that are here, feel like you're here to serve humanity, you're going to have a lot of work coming to you in 2025. Humans are really, really going to need your help. Now, I don't mean that as a savior. I mean that as you holding space, a space where there is peace, where there is calm, where there is realization, where there is information, where there is understanding, okay? Where there is a resonance that will help them process and let go. Okay? This is good news for us. So all the bantering in the false narrative world about, the end of this and the shock of that, and there's a lot of people talking about financial collapse, which they do every year, guys. And there's all sorts of Armageddon type, end of the world type narratives being propagated out there. And we might get hooked into it, but really the only reason we get hooked into it because it touches a wound from our past. It touches some sort of event that happens somewhere, in somewhere else in our experience, in the Akasha somewhere. And the Akasha is very, very close to this reality these days, so it's not too hard to go into the Akasha and transmute and dissolve and reset these programs that are in our consciousness, these memories of past trauma, these things that have gone on that have created soul loss and fracturing. And that's why these narratives are so potent, because we all have had events like this in the past, in our soul's journey and or in our ancestry, so it's triggering, right? But there's something arising. It's like every time, we'll just say the powers that be, the powers that are going away, right? Those powers that be, every time they do some kind of pushback, the feeling is that the universe is just gonna, you know what I mean? It's like, every time the pushback goes, the universe responds with even a stronger hold and even stronger response. And I wonder if this is actually why there's so many light workers and prophecy seers out there that are talking about this solar flash. And I'm wondering if it's a response to a mega pushback by the crumbling powers that used to be. And you can look at this in another way. Take the frequency of Saturn, right? For those of you who are familiar with astrology, the energy of Saturn. And then you have the people in the multidimensional circles that have other understandings of Saturn, like the Saturn having consciousness, that they call them dark lords very often, that are in charge of holding certain systems in place, such as our military, such as our education system, such as the medical system, such as the agricultural system. It's like that those structures have captured those foundational pieces to society and have created something that is not necessarily in the service of the freedom and sovereignty of the souls that are incarnated right now. Another correlation to Saturn is the devil. Now, in the tarot deck, the devil, now they're not talking about the devil burning in hell, what they kind of are, but that too is a story. But that, that is about, giving in to your weaknesses. It's about not really claiming your sovereignty, your power. And those are the kinds of challenges that Saturn brings. It challenges us to take further responsibility and sovereignty of ourselves. Okay. This is why indigenous elders, and I believe it was Cherokee elder, and I'm trying to remember his name. I'm so sorry, I don't remember your name. A Cherokee elder that talked about, when you give up the education of your children, you give up the source of where you get your food, and you give up the governments of your people, you're no longer a free person. You are a slave. Okay. So even way back then, it was clear to that particular mentality that those structures, those Saturn governed structures of the colonizers taking over, were all set to disempower humanity, not empower humanity. They were all structures to disempower the individual. So there's Saturn, aka the devil, aka Kronos. Now, Kronos is another word for Saturn, which is the timekeeper, right? So there's a reason why all these archetypes correlate with each other. Okay, because it's all pushing us to reclaim our sovereignty as multi-dimensional beings, and it doesn't matter what kind of push it is. And it doesn't matter what it is we're claiming our sovereignty from or of, right? So, this is why the whole world of technical intelligence, whether it be terrestrial or extraterrestrial, doesn't matter. We have a vote in those realities of multidimensional beings. And are if we really are serious about claiming our sovereignty at that level, that means it's up to us to break through those barriers. And those are the opportunities that's coming in 2025, is us multidimensionals having the opportunity to bust through more of those barriers of where we don't necessarily get to exercise our sovereignty and freedom. You see what I mean? Hopefully I was able to articulate that clearly enough. There's a lot of layers to it, and there's also not a lot of language that accommodates these understandings well enough, so I'm doing my best. Now, there's a few here. There's a couple other things that they're talking about. Oh, yes. The way, the place to get true support, to the place to recoup and recover and recenter, is by doubling down on resonating, being tuned in with the natural cycles of the earth. Keep returning to nature, deepening into nature over and over and over and over again. The more we do this, the more we are going to feel supported during these times of chaos and upheaval. Now, what I talked about, I gave you guys an idea of the way through it, but just imagine the level of chaos and drama that's going to be spewed by the content makers, right? The false narrative makers, right? There is real energy in what they're doing. Massive conflict, massive amounts of drama. And of course, that drama and the imagery and the ideas and the holographic overlays, they're all going to dance on woundings that humanity has. Now, you and I, we have gone through a lot. We've healed a lot. We're aware of how to heal even more. So when things do arise, we know exactly what to do. We know what to do for ourselves, okay? The larger masses of humanity, not so much. The younger generations maybe have a little bit more of a clue, right? And I'm talking about, the Gen Xers, the ones that are, in their early adulthood right now. They have a bit more of a clue. They're seeing it a bit more clearly. So this chaos that people will be involved in, for you and I, we are approaching this as optional. And how to unplug from that? Going for a walk, sitting under a tree, going to a hot springs, hiking, hanging out outside, going into the mountains, going to the beach, whatever whatever your heart connection is with nature, that will help rebalance you over and over again. And we're going to need it, because this is the time of ripping the Band-Aid off, and there are a lot of pieces that are going to be very hard truths for humanity to swallow. And definitely the media is going to make it so chaotic, it's going to be difficult to know up from down. But you will know, right? Because we already understand what the underlying reality is. So we're getting little glimpses of it here and there, what it's going to look like. Like, for example, the media's responses to RFK, the media's responses to Elon Musk and Vivek, and you know what I mean? The different appointees. It's like the chaos is brewing. These are all dress rehearsals for the big game in 2025, right? The big game. But humanity is going to rebound a lot quicker than we realize, and I feel hopeful about that. And at the same time, we also have the other nesting dolls of the realms beyond supporting us in maintaining our strength and our center during this time of chaos and change. So that means returning to nature. That means tracking the moon cycles. That means tracking the natural rhythms of the earth, right? Pay attention to the sunrises and sunsets, whichever one you're awake for, right? Be witness of it. Tune in to the sunset. Tune in to the sunrise. Depending on where you are, it's easier to go to one or the other. Now here I'm not sure where I plan to be in 2025, but at the moment I'm on the front range. So sunset is very difficult because I have 14,000-foot mountains right next to me, and the sun sets 14 feet sooner than it normally would. So it's not the normal setting sun illumination, but the sunrises are spectacular here. So whatever you do, make that time to check in, tune in to the natural cycle. Whether it be the day cycles, the lunar cycles, the seasonal cycles. I mean, it'll be ideal if you can do all of the above, but pick which ones that are doable in your life and stick to it. That's going to tune you into a natural rhythm where you can rely on that. You can rely on that centeredness. You can rely on the strength, the surety of those rhythms, while all this other stuff gets chaotic. I have a feeling money is also going to change a lot. And, it may end up where we don't really have a cash currency anymore. It might happen. Who knows how far that'll go. A year is only a year, so there's only so much change that can, even though it's going to be really quick change, there's only so much change that can happen. Right. So, there's a lot of things crumbling and there's a lot of things rising at the same time. So the different kinds of industries that are falling or, having a fall off, and there's like financial stuff falling off with that. There's new inventions to replace that all very quickly. So there's entirely new industries arising while other industries are falling. And that all, so that is what is going to keep things semi-stable for the collective. And I'm talking, this is global. It's not just the US, though. The US seems to be, the US is the propagator of 99.9% of the weapons of war. So what happens here does affect the rest of the world, because as soon as we stop playing that part of the game, the rest of the world doesn't have the supply to kill each other in the level that they do, right? The warring. And there are wars going on that we're not even aware of. We are only told about the ones that are convenient for us to know about, but there's a lot more going on than what we're aware of. And that's something to continue to remind ourselves, that there's a lot more going on than we're aware of. What we're being told maybe there's a better word for it. What we're being told in the Truman Show, the mainstream media, the content creators, the false narrative creations. What we're being told in the Truman Show, it's told to us because there's a reason why they want us to know that. Right? It's not about keeping us informed. It's about manipulating our perceptions so we'll think a certain way. Keep reminding yourself that every time you start getting involved heavily in a narrative, because these are triggering narratives. They are hitting on wounds from the past of our ancestry or in our soul's journey. Okay? But remember, so just take stock in that, slow down, before when you catch yourself going into the very fast flowing river of that 4D field war game, right? Unplug from, take yourself into nature, completely switch your rhythm, and that will help you realize, oh yeah, I'm really not interested in getting involved. It's very difficult because it's strong, it's highly charged, it's highly charged. I've had some really profound light worker friends super fall into both sides of the narrative over this election, which was difficult to deal with, because I feel like they know better than that, but yet we're in it, right? So we're human, we're doing the best that we can. That's also a good thing to keep reminding ourselves. And 2025 is bringing amazing opportunities for us all. I see some really fantastic rising of the masculine coming, which is a welcome dynamic. And I also feel like the collective is going to surprise us. There's going to be a lot of inner strength, a lot more inner strength than even the powers that be have calculated for. And therefore, a lot of these trauma drama that's planned out to unfold will not have the impact, will not have that desired impact. And this is the beginning of the end of it all, guys. This coming year is the beginning of the end of all the illusion delusion games, or a vast majority of the illusion delusion games. So it's very hopeful, and we are really going to advance our relationship with AI, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial. So maybe you look forward to that. What we do with it is participating in it, finding a harmonious place in relationship to humanity. So if you have the imagination to play with it and find a harmonious relationship to it, I'm going to ask you to do that, because you're really serving humanity by doing that. So there's a lot of folks that are super highly charged from past trauma dramas of the galactic wars and whatnot, and maybe are not in a place where they can play what the right relationship is. Okay, so for those of you that have it in you and are motivated to do it, please. That too is a service to your fellow human beings. Okay. All right. Now, thank you for your attention. I appreciate all of you guys being here, and I appreciate you guys for being here this whole year, 2024. What a wild, wacky year this was. Holy moly. In 2025, I know one of my intentions is to stick a little bit closer to stick around a certain particular region. That's my idea. We'll see how that unfolds. I too am making plans to be out in nature much more often for 2025. I feel like my nervous system is really going to need it in order for me to fulfill the things that I want to do this year with my bandwidth. I have some exciting projects that I'm touching in with, I'm dreaming about, and I know that I will need to be centered and in my strength to get that done. And what goes the second, the immediate thought that comes with that is be in nature, be in nature, be in nature. So that is what I'm dreaming up for the future. Yes, and if you guys want support in in what you're dreaming forward, I encourage you to check out the Light Body Essentials program. You can find that at lightbodyacademy.com. It's such a wonderful program for building a strong energy field, having good energetic hygiene, so you can reclaim your capacity to dream the world into being and just completely have what do you call it? Exponentially expanded grip on having command of your own energy. So you are not like a leaf in the wind. You're more like let's say a glider. You can ride it because you have control of all those subtle aspects of your being. So I encourage you guys to check that out. Thank you again for being here. I'll see you guys next time. Mwah. I hope you guys make it a great week. Bye-bye.